All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I have the brilliant Niko House, one of the great journalists and activists and voices in politics out there, and he is a friend of mine. Niko, how are you?
I'm doing very well, actually. You're too kind, as usual. But yeah, I've been doing pretty well, man. How about yourself?
Good, good, good. I had a window up, and it was so. I guess if people hear like, an echo, that was my fault. But how are you, man? How you been?
Had some speed bumps recently. Uh, Funny enough, one of those speed bumps is as usual tends to involve the police. And even though I got out of the situation, there are some lingering things. Like I found out the other day that Broward County Sheriff's Office is actually spying on my phone calls.
How are they able to do that?
I mean, being able to tap phones is pretty. It's like for even a sheriff's department isn't that hard to do. But yeah, actually, my friend found out because I was texting her back and forth, and then she just stopped responding out of nowhere. And she said, I think someone's tapping your phone. I was like, well, why do you say that? So she told me that it was when she tried to respond back to my last text that I sent her, there was a response that said, uh, BSO dash XY. There's like a bunch of numbers and then like a warning. And then when she actually tried to screenshot it to send it to me, it deleted all the text messages between us. And then when she tried to call me, it wouldn't let her call me.
Have you reached out to the Broward County law enforcement about this issue?
Oh God, no. I don't want nothing to do with them. But this isn't the only time that I had suspected that someone was tapping my phone, because there have been situations where I'm talking to my partners for Just Inform, for example, about the platform, where we'll hear voices in the background, like somebody will fast forward or rewind something and it sounds like a chipmunk, that chipmunk sound you get when you rewind something, like in the middle of our phone calls.
Oh wow.
hmm
Oh
Like,
wow.
yeah, it's obvious that someone is trying to tap into something. I don't know what they're looking for, but yeah.
Well, your activism started like years back. Well, I remember
Yeah.
you were one of the first people to kind of take the DNC to task in terms of the vote, just the voting irregularities for Bernie.
Yeah, yeah. The obvious irregularities, things like, just something is. I started off really with the Iowa caucus. That's where it really started. Whenever I was, it said Bernie was winning, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, but by the way, we forgot to count the super delegates. So yeah, Hillary wins." And I'm like, "Hold up, then what the hell just happened?" You know, like, was this how they did it before? I've never seen this done before. And then obviously it started with then it led into the purges in New York, which we found out the Board of Elections admitted to knowing about and did absolutely nothing. And my situation in North Carolina, where we found out that they were trying to suppress the Black community from meeting with Bernie Sanders, along with trying to undermine the volunteers and the campaign in general. A lot, yeah, it was a lot, but I'm glad we did it because otherwise, things could have been a lot different, man. It could have been a lot different.
Well, I know that. I guess we're going to segue into um, the Roseanne situation and the Valerie Jarrett thing, but
hmm
before that, I mean, how many times, Niko, have you heard from people, and it just boggles my mind, that Bernie Sanders is racist or his supporters are racist, and then I think of Tim Black, Niko House, Nina Turner,
Tulsi Gabbard,
Tulsi Gabbard, you know,
Killer Mike.
yeah,
Yeah,
Dr. Cornell West. I mean,
it was like, yeah, right. I know, like that. If anybody, that the Dr. Cornell West one should probably quash that. Now, I do.
I'm just waiting for a Daily Beast article. Dr. Cornell West is racist.
Right. I do want to be honest though. Like, you know how I am. I'm objective, and like, I won't say that Bernie Sanders doesn't have some troubling approaches to courting the Black vote. And I do believe he's made some missteps in representing Black people. Like, in particularly, he tends to avoid black male figures that aren't already well established. Like, you know, so obviously he has Killer Mike and Dr. Cornel West, but then he actually uplifted Simone Sanders into that press secretary position for his campaign from the Black Lives Matter movement. However, he's never really uplifted any black males into a powerful position. In fact, he's actually, I mean, be honest with you, he ignored people on his campaign when it came to black strategy. That doesn't mean he's racist. It means he's not perfect. And I don't expect him to be perfect. Tulsi Gabbard has holes as well. Nina Turner used to be establishment as well. So, I mean, you know, I'm not the type of person that pretends like, oh yeah, he's a Lord and Savior, but like to say, oh yeah, he's outright racist. No, because at the very end of the day, a lot of the policies that he advocates for massively helps communities of color and those who are oftentimes disenfranchised because of the actions of past generations that are as recent as the late 80s, in some cases when we're talking about redlining.
What do you think of what took place with Valerie Jarrett, the tweet, the Roseanne tweet about Jarrett?
Man, that's a lot. I don't really, when it comes to being fired for something like that, you don't even have to really get into the racial aspect of it. It's like, yo, you said something that was perceivably racist, like perceivably racist. We can get into the details of whether or not it was racist later, but it was perceivably racist. If you are a icon or a mogul of some kind, especially in a highly contentious era, it's like during the Me Too movement. If you have some laundry to clear out, you better clear it out now, because pretty much it's guilty, because it's PR at that point, right? And you're not, she knows better. She knew that just public relations wise, it's not going to be long before you're fired, because once you made that comment, at the very bare minimum, some advertisers were going to pull out of your show now, right? And so once it's not about, once again, I hate to say it, but it's not about the racism part, if we want to be realistic as far as her getting fired. It's about the bottom line. And when you affect somebody's bottom line by saying something that could even be perceived as racist, that's what's going to happen, right? So, but I do want to clarify, because some people keep saying she's not black, which is weird. And they are really not understanding the whole simian reference and the significance of that like referencing black people to monkeys, gorillas, whatever, that is a historic racial thing. It's to make black people seem primal, to make it seem like we're animals. That's where the whole King Kong movie came from. It was to make the big, gorilla kidnapping the innocent white woman, to make us look, like I said, very predatory. That is a historic thing. And for Roseanne specifically, she did not only do this with Jarrett, which is what people for some reason are failing to realize. Roseanne did the same thing with Susan Rice, who worked in the Obama administration. And even though I don't personally like Susan Rice or really anybody in the Obama administration, there seems to be a huge correlation with the insults that come out of Roseanne's mouth and the fact that they only get racial or very, very prejudiced when it comes to black people. She doesn't reference anyone else to an animal except for black people, specifically in these cases, black women. And she said that Susan Rice had big gorilla balls. In this particular situation, she referred to Jarrett as being part of the Muslim Brotherhood, and talking about her looking like or coming from Planet of the Apes. Like, it's racist. I don't know what you want to, we can go all day about, is she racist? I don't know. But she made an inflammatory statement that was indeed racist. And at that point, I'm all about free speech. I don't necessarily believe that she deserved to be fired, because that affects the lives of a lot of people on that cast who are not, or who weren't being inflammatory or disrespectful or derogatory at all. So but at the same time, people understand something. So remember with Colin Kaepernick's situation, we literally saw President Trump, for example, try to use his political power at the time to silence anyone who was kneeling. And those people had that right. But then people were on to say, the people who were against what he was kneeling about, all of a sudden forgot about the significance of free speech and protest. I actually am one of those people who advocated for Roseanne whenever people tried to slam her for being a Trump supporter. I said, no, that is her absolute right. And I applaud what she and the others on her show have been doing. I loved what she was doing. But I'm not selective when it comes to free speech. However, it seems that some people are, because whenever Trump used his prowess that we now know, according to Jerry Jones, his testimony, he did in fact use his presidential power to try and silence these people. There was no outrage. All they kept doing was making up these facts about how he's a washed up quarterback when no statistics actually prove that.
Well, Kaepernick was a good player. I wrote in the Huffington Post right when it happened that he should be applauded. But Kaepernick was a very, very good player. He just got injured.
He got injured, and then people forget that he was also victim to a horrible management situation. They fired
different coaches, and he'd already gone to the Super Bowl. So
yeah, he went to the Super Bowl, and then right after that went to the conference championship, which has never been done by someone starting in their first 2 seasons, except for by Tom Brady at the time.
And do you remember that New Orleans game?
Which one?
When they played the Saints,
the conference championship.
Yeah, it was one of the division titles.
Yeah, it was a division.
It was like an amazing game. I think the Kaepernick was like a star that game.
Yeah, he was like a play away from. Or are you talking about the first time they played?
I think I forgot what.
When he was just
but it was pretty amazing.
Throwing bombs down the field. I absolutely remember that game. Yeah, I mean he's a athletic freak, and he the narrative got started about him not being a good quarterback and being washed up to essentially sweep the fact that he was having his free speech infringed upon under the rug. Because when you can point to something else like, oh, it's his play. But what they don't talk about is in most of the statistics that are significant, he's top 5 in quarterbacks. Like in most of the significant statistics for quarterbacks, he's top 5. And that was after the getting Chip Kelly, who is known to silence stars and pretty much run off stars. And then people say, oh, well, he's not a system quarterback. Well, every other quarterback, and coach, by the way, every other organization caters to their quarterbacks because they're so rare. It's only Colin Kaepernick who, as they've said, oh, well, he just can't fit in anybody's system. It's like nobody has done that. I'm a Redskins fan. Unfortunately, we went and got a coach that catered to Kirk Cousins' skill set. It's a common thing. But when it came to Colin Kaepernick, people say, oh, he just can't fit anybody's system. Oh, they just figured him.
Here's my take on the Roseanne thing. Obviously, I don't think Roseanne has a racist bone in her body. I think that what took place was she made a racist statement, and it was very,
because that's what would get more attention. I think that was an attention-seeking thing.
Yeah, it was obviously a flawed attempt at some kind of insult / banter / joke or whatever whatever the motivation was. It obviously was a racist statement. This is the way I liken it, and I can't give my experience, because I'm sure for a Black person, whether they're okay with it or whether they're offended, this is just my experience as a Jewish guy. I remember when Mel Gibson got drunk and he got pulled over and and he was like, yeah, the Jews control everything and all that stuff. And I was like, I'm not going to stop watching fucking Braveheart, man. I was like, Braveheart is the shit.
But it did cost him some money, though.
Huh?
It did cost him that.
Oh, it cost him a lot. It cost him a lot.
That's what I'm saying. PR is PR.
He also said, he also said some other, things also. I believe he used the N-word also. But Bill Maher used the N-word as well. My thing with Apocalypto is one of my favorite movies also from. I just think that he's such a brilliant filmmaker. And
it broke my heart whenever Mel Gibson flew off the handle. I was like, bro, I love Braveheart. I love We Were Soldiers.
I remember people telling me oh, well, he's anti-Semitic. I'm like, well, okay. I doubt my initial reaction, I doubt you can make a living in Hollywood being anti-Semitic because there's so many
That
Jewish
is so
people in
true.
Hollywood.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I'm saying, okay, he was drunk, whatever, and he's still like, I'm not gonna not enjoy myself watching his movies because he says something insane or whatever. But my thing is that I don't think that she's a racist person at all. I think it's obviously very offensive. Um, in this day and age, I don't know. I mean, if there should be a standard, because if Roseanne's going to get fired, then Bill Maher should get fired because he used the N word.
Yeah, that I agree with. I truly I remember, and you remember me doing a video about this. Like, not only did he say it, but he felt like he had a right to say it and that
Yeah.
nobody could do anything about it. Now, I'm not, now on the other side of that fence, nobody on the right seemed to care. That's what, like, none of the major pundits, right? The left was more so, actually, the progressive left was saying that he should have been fired more than anybody else. And he also has said some racist things about Muslims, just like Roseanne did as well. And that, referencing the Muslim Brotherhood to Jared being Iranian. But him calling Trump an orangutan is not the same thing, people. I don't know where y'all.
No, it's not.
There's a huge leap in logic there. The reason that the significance of the Simeon reference was so serious is because it's a racial comparison. Like, please don't be one of those people. Like, just that's all I'm asking y'all. I know, like, I'm all for free speech, and we can, to be honest with you, like, because there's so much, and we've had this conversation about the Grammys, the Oscars, all that stuff. There's like a lot of racial undertones in Hollywood, and I'm not even here to judge whether or not Roseanne is or isn't racist, because to be totally honest with you, it's inconsequential as to whether or not people will watch her or anybody else in Hollywood that's been called racist or whatever. But I am here to say that if you are going to call out Bill Maher, okay, and if you're going to defend Roseanne's free speech and her right to do so, which I will always do, I always will defend free speech, then we need to be consistent in those values. You can't only do that when it's politically convenient. Like, you can't, like, there are people who conveniently care about black people and only when you're calling out Ben Carson. You're like, oh, you're mad because he's not, like, victimizing himself. And it's like, I didn't say that. I'm just saying he has sold his own people down the river to gain favor amongst the Republican Party. That's a fact. But at the same time, those people say that he's uplifting himself. However, and if you call him out, you're racist. However, with LeBron James, who literally had his house vandalized and had the N-word sprayed all over his house, if he brings that up, and, like, I mean, which is when you think about it, that means these people know where he lives and is stalking his schedule. That is actually this is where his family lives, and he's on the road frequently. And these people obviously have some animus towards him. Whenever he spoke up about this, it was said that he's playing victim and that he should get over it. Whenever someone on the pundit who said that LeBron should shut up and dribble about, shut up and play ball, which we knew was a racial thing, but it doesn't even matter if it was racial, because the fact of the matter is she was openly critiquing him, not for what he said, but the mere fact that he was expressing his ability to use free speech as the Constitution grants him. And that's what she took offense to. And at that point, it was the responsibility of everyone, not just the left, not just the basketball players who agree with him, or not just the people who agreed with what he said, but even the people who disagreed with what he said, to say, pause, that's where we have to part ways, because I may not like what he said about Donald Trump, however, or what he said about the issues that were going on in this country. However, he does have a right to do so. And that's where I feel like we need more convergence from both the right and the left, because I see a lot of selective reasoning when it comes to free speech in this country. And it's a dangerous and slippery slope.
Yeah, I just think that people, like, people don't mind when Hillary Clinton called black youth super predators.
Yeah, I don't get
and
that.
It's not like there's this stupid
same thing. Yeah, exactly. That's what neoliberals. The exact same thing. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah, and people say, like, well, what aboutism? Well, you're changing the subject. No, like, if you're gonna say that, oh, Roseanne has to have her show canceled, then be consistent. Bill Maher, don't vote for Clinton. Like, how many people on the left? I mean, he used the N-word. That's like overt.
And was totally unapologetic. He didn't even apologize like Roseanne did.
And I think that what Bill Maher did, I mean, that's like a very sensitive, because he was saying the House and then like he was trying to say like
he was referencing slavery.
And he didn't even, like you said, he didn't even realize that what he did was super offensive. But because he's on the left, it's like they give him a free pass. Or, oh, like what about Joy Reid? She's blaming hackers. You know,
for her, exact same situation. For her clearly homophobic comments that she made. And it's funny because she's blaming hackers, but I'm like, that sounded a lot like you, though. That sounded like the syntax and the language that you use. And she should have been fired immediately. You're not saying nothing slipped to a can of oil when it comes to neoliberals. And I even said that today in the post that I made. I said, let's not mistake, once again, let's not mistake this as something that's unique to the right, because it absolutely is not. It is very common on the neoliberal left. And you know what? I would even take it a step further. And I am a progressive. I do consider myself, a part of the progressive wing, but the progressive wing of the Democratic Party or the progressive wing of the independent side has the same problems. Remember with the Jordan Sheridan situation? I'm sure you do. You were involved in it. You've made several videos about it. So, but Jordan Sheridan blackmailed me. Jordan Sheridan tried to or one of his employees tried to dox me. He lied over and over and over and over and over again. Allegedly committed sexual assault on, by the way, multiple victims, more than most people know about, because I know a lot of them. And there was outrage and he was affected, but the effects didn't really come until he finally was not able to hide behind the TYT logo. But remember the responses that were being given because he was on our side? Oh, he was just having a bad day. He was probably going through something. We should forget about all that and just unite.
Yeah, I mean,
that's extremely a little hypocritical.
My thing with all that, and just as a disclaimer, because I know how like touchy, just YouTube guidelines. I have no idea, and I always stated that with all my, whenever I discussed it, I have no idea, if Jordan was innocent or guilty, and I have no so I have no idea regarding his guilt or innocence.
But he was definitely guilty of blackmail. He was definitely guilty.
I mean, like what you went through for sure. I mean, that's the thing. Like, so for YouTube guidelines and policies, if anyone has a problem with this, let it be known that I am not making a statement on Jordan Sheridan's legal situation or anything.
Don't cut him.
But no, I'm not making a statement. I'm not making a statement. I literally am not making a statement. I don't think, but like, I think that you're right. Like, it's sad. And this is why I don't consider myself a progressive anymore. And I've left it completely. And I'm actually voting for Trump in 2020 and all of this. Like I've left because, Niko, like, how many times have you been attacked by people who should be your friend? Like how many times have you been attacked by even, well, forget about Hillary bots. Like I'm sure that you've run into them all the time.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Literally bots. And then there are legitimate people. Believe it or not, though, I would say just from the patterns I've seen, there are a lot less Hillary fans than you would think. Like I would say virtually most of the people who outright attack you to the point of irrationality, who use the exact same talking points over and over again in different orders, and even seem to, even though they are supposedly from the States, they don't type in English like they are. They're fake people. But on the other side of that fence, however, you do in person. I'm saying, like, I've gotten into a full out argument with it was a white woman at a bar who attacked me and insulted me because I said I was going to vote for Jill Stein.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and told me I don't care about black people because I'm voting for Jill Stein.
So white woman told you don't care about black people?
Yeah, that's.
Oh my God.
It's like that, and that's okay. And she in her mind probably thinks she's progressive. That's the scariest part.
Yeah, it's okay. I've been called a Nazi by anarchists, even though I tell them I'm Jewish. but they don't care because they're anarchists.
Yeah,
I always say anarchists.
it's always a political agenda involved, and it's convenient. It's convenient to not research. It's convenient to only hold your side accountable. But we're never going to get in this anywhere in this country until we're willing to look at our own our side. Like, well, you can't go over somebody else's house and talk about how dirty their house is if you're not keeping your own house clean. And you know how I feel about that. I'm one of the first ones to hold the left accountable because, you know, I consider myself a progressive, and by, you know, the spectrum of politics, that means I'm on the left, and therefore I'm not going to allow someone to pretend to be the friend of progressives and minorities and marginalized and et cetera, or anybody who advocates for progressive policies. I'm not going to allow them to pretend to be friends while they stab us in the back. Like, they call out the right, and there is some truth to that. It's like what Colin Powell said. Colin Powell came out and said, "Oh, my party is
HA,
racist."
hold on one second. I got to read this. HA is a bold-faced liar. Bill Maher apologized. Not only did he apologize, he brought Ice Cube on his show to challenge him about it. But hey, I guess you're a false narrative.
Okay,
what do I care?
Can I say something? Can I respond to that? Please let me. Please.
Yeah.
Yo, did you just use the one black friend excuse? I have a black friend, therefore I am not racist. So because he did a PR move by bringing on Ice Cube, we just gonna pretend like he ain't say that. And remember, he was extremely unapologetic about it. Extremely unapologetic about it. Like, he was almost pompous about the situation. And so because he brought Ice Cube on, hey, it's okay. It's okay. Let's all forget about it.
And also, the issue is not, where I'm coming from is not the fact that he said it, therefore he must. I don't think anyone should lose their job for saying anything. See, that's the social justice warrior left. But what happens is when they get caught.
I don't know, because
it's also the right too. It's also
because Trump literally said they should lose their jobs for kneeling.
Yeah, but when in terms of like when Joy Reid says something, it's hackers. When Cenk Uygur writes racist blog posts, it's, you know, it was a long time ago. He's changed.
Yeah, he actually said I used to be a Republican. That was his.
Yeah, I used to be a Republican.
Weird response to that.
Sam Seder said a tweet, and then he was fired from MSNBC. Then there was a, you know, oh my God, you know, it's Cernovich's fault. Then he was rehired. So my whole thing is like, if you're going to have the law of, you know, this morality where Roseanne is fired, then fire Bill Maher. But if you're not going to fire Bill Maher, you're not going to fire, you know, Joy Reid, you're not going to fire Cenk Uygur, you're not going to fire Sam Seder, you're not going to fire all these people, then don't fire Roseanne.
100% agree. That's where my main issue was. That's why I sympathize with those on the right who said, well, this is kind of unfair, don't you think? We've just seen a bunch of people get pass after pass after pass after pass over the last 2 to 3 years. A lot of people. And yet it's Roseanne, who obviously became an immediate target from the Hollywood left because of her support of Trump. And not only was she getting support,
she was a target, yeah.
Not only did she support Trump, and was vocal about it, but her ratings were reflective of not only the right supporting her, but the left being open to hearing her perspective because of how it's presented on the show as well. And they don't want that unity.
They don't even want discussion.
Exactly. And that's what kind of pisses me off about Roseanne. I'm like, why did you do that? Because now you killed something. You gave them ammo. And like I said, I don't necessarily believe that the way they handled it was correct, but you gave them ammo knowing that they were waiting for something to use against you. And it killed a true, you know, a show that really addressed all of the things that we discussed. Like, it's very middle of the pack, because even though Roseanne was a Trump supporter, there were people on the show that were Hillary supporters, people on the show that were Jill Stein supporters. Like, you were hearing so many different perspectives, and you were no longer in the echo chamber, and that is dangerous for the establishment. And so she immediately became a target, and she fed into it, and that's what upsets me probably the most.
Well, Twitter is just it's made to, like, like I actually before this episode I was like, hey, you know what? I was actually, Roseanne is just speaking her mind. That's great,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that like she was definitely a voice for so many Americans who like the show was a good show. I mean, you needed that outlet for people, but people are just going to vote in Trump just because there's Democrats are completely
And here's what's even
in
cooler
disarray.
about that aspect. The fact that like Roseanne's political agenda, like her political biases are not like lost on anyone. And there were still people, however, who considered themselves progressives that worked with her. And
Well,
they were
I mean, all the writers are liberal, and all like, everybody. I mean, the writers on the show in Hollywood. Like, why should everybody lose their job for like a statement that even though I understand, yes, it's like I'm not condoning the statement. It's obviously
you're
I
saying
wish
people
that she
made
didn't write it.
mistakes. People made mistakes, and we could have
Yeah, people
used
make
this as a
mistakes.
teaching moment and a moment to grow versus let's lynch or cut off the head of the first person who
But if I mean
missteps.
Joy Reid, she's okay. It's
I
like
I 100% agree. As a matter of fact, I didn't do a video on that. I'm glad you reminded me because I definitely need to address that because, like I said, I'm not saying that her statement should not have been condemned, but the appropriate way to handle that would have been to, instead of making her a fucking free speech martyr, like maybe, just maybe, say, hey, this was wrong. This isn't the first time you did it. Here's the connotation, or if you didn't mean it like this, this is how it's going to be taken. And so, can you go on TV, clarify this, and boom. Guess what?
well, I mean,
Everybody would have been forced to think like, oh, wow, I didn't know that this meant that. Oh,
yeah.
but wow, they allowed her to keep her show and not, outrageously react like they always do, looking instead of now making her a martyr. And now people are, like I said, irrationally calling for Bill Maher's fire for something that had nothing to do with why he really should be fired.
Well,
Like,
do you remember when Kramer, from
whoa,
Seinfeld?
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, he had that kind of tirade because there was a heckler, and happens in shows, and I guess like Kramer wasn't on his game and just felt that he couldn't handle the heckler, so he like in a crazy attempt at this dark humor, but really it was cringeworthy, he started screaming the N-word,
Mm-hmm.
and that was caught on tape. And then Seinfeld
Yeah,
did
Kramer
something
was like
really
the first
interesting.
victim
Like,
of social media.
oh, that was the
Kramer
exact.
was
That
like
was
the
before.
first
Oh
victim of
my
social
God,
media.
Kramer would have been crucified,
Yeah.
crucified. But this is before Twitter, and what happened was, I think he was on Jay Leno, and actually, like, Seinfeld did a really good, like, did a solid, like, or was showed his good friend, like he was a good friend, because whereas Seinfeld was like not condoning it and upset, he was there to give Kramer a voice to apologize to the world via the Leno show. And so
Mm-hmm.
then Kramer apologized to the world. And then it was kind of like there was perhaps some closure from it. I don't know how the person felt, obviously, who was at the other end, like listening to it, the N word, but at least like he was forced to like kind of not forced, but he was given the opportunity to say, "Hey, I apologize. It's not who I am. It's obviously a failed attempt at humor. Please forgive me."
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have that. We have like Twitter justice.
I know, and it's actually sad, man. That's actually why me, Suzanne, and Tim created Just Inform, which is
Yeah, tell me
essentially.
about that.
So, Just Inform is a community networking and news platform. It's what we refer to as the evolution of social media because it takes away that vanity and that reactionism and actually allows people to express their thoughts, their emotions, their feelings. Right now, it's kind of politically centric, but however, we're going to be expanding that and evolving that over the next few months. But it's to start allowing the engagement of legitimate conversations without algorithms really being altered to affect what you see and what you don't see. So as we know, like YouTube, for example, the more videos you watch from like Ben Shapiro or Alex Jones, or like if you keep going down that rabbit hole, that's the rabbit hole they'll keep you in. And you'll never hear anyone else's perspective outside of the perspectives that you want to hear. And after a while, on the contributors' behalf, if you say something enough, you get enough likes for it, people will you'll keep doing the videos because that's what makes you famous on YouTube. However, on Just Informed, we have a different approach. We'll just talk about the contributor aspect of it. So say I'm a verified contributor, and I write an article and you write an article or post a video. There's no allocation of like favorable algorithms outside of the fact that a verified contributor will have a higher priority in the news feed than an unverified contributor. However, everyone can write articles. Everyone can post videos. Everyone has a chance to be featured on the content page. Everyone, when you post, it will go to the main timeline where literally everyone who is part of the platform can see, not just the right, not just the left, but we are allowing ourselves to see perspectives side by side saying, okay, this person feels this way about the Roseanne situation, and this person feels this way about the Roseanne situation. And oftentimes, guess what? It's in the middle, right? Which we've seen be the answer time and time and time again. So I see somebody just brought up Candace Owens. By the way, despise the woman. But there is an element of truth to what she says. She is looking for clicks. Nobody in this, and just as an aside, by the way, the problem with the Candace Owens and the Ben Carsons of the world is you talk about how great Ben Carson was. Y'all didn't know who the hell he was or what he did before he started throwing black people under the bus, because that's how he got elevated.
But
Candace
Niko,
Owens,
let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you this. What if, for example, like Candace Owens or Ben Carson? Well, okay, Ben Carson has made some statements that like, you know, certain outlandish statements, but I'm talking about, like, for example, do you know who Larry Elder is?
Yes.
Okay. I'm like just a straight conservative, not necessarily somebody who, you know, just a straight
definition of conservative
black man or black woman. Would it necessarily be that they're throwing their people under the bus?
No, Larry Elder, actually, I've heard him give some very good presentations. You're talking about the guy who really talks about the importance of the family, the nuclear family, when it comes to
I've actually called in on his show 3 times, like over the past like decade or so. And he's a Los Angeles talk show radio show host, and he was a black conservative. I mean, now, like, the conservative movement is actually growing in, like, you know, black communities and Asian communities. Latinos are 30%. They voted for Trump, but I'm saying, like, growing more so than ever. But he was a black conservative before there was, like, you know, more conservative movements among minorities. And he had a show. He has a show in LA, a radio show, or he had one for a long, long time. I used to call up. I used to be like the liberal that would call up sometimes and challenge him. But because he didn't like Obama, or he didn't like, you know, and this was when I thought, like, President Obama was amazing, all that stuff. But what do you think, though? Like, can't you be a black man and conservative?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I think that you can be, like, if we go by the true definition of conservatism, right? Not like the convenient, the rhetorically convenient version of what we have seen some conservatism evolve into. Like, I'm talking about the real, like, so you're fiscally conservative, meaning you don't want to spend money unnecessarily. You believe that we should be taxing at the bare minimum necessary to keep society functional, but we shouldn't be doing enough to, you know, or so much that we cripple people. That we should be allowing free market capitalism, but the true definition of free market capitalism, where the government isn't giving subsidies to the major conglomerates at the, you know, at the expense of the small businesses and the middle class. I think that that's great, and in fact, I think that there are a lot of people, like, I would say that Alder is actually probably one of those people that agree with that, and it's because he came up during a time where he took the definition of conservatism for what it was, and instead of, and it's kind of like, really, when you think about it, which is why I don't really like when people just attack the entire Republican Party or in members of it, just like I don't like when people attack the entire Democratic Party and members of it. I don't like the whole libtard comment because you're trying to say that, oh, all of these people on the left think like that.
Let me ask you this. Have you been shadow banned on Twitter?
Absolutely.
Can I tell you something? I have been stuck. I'm telling you, this is uncanny. I've been stuck at 28,000, I think 494 followers for about 3 months.
Oh yeah. Oh,
it goes up. I mean, I'm like,
it will go up like by like 70, and you'll be gone. They'll be gone the next day.
Well, this goes up like 4. It goes down 5. It's like crazy. Maybe it's because
they're forcing people to unfollow you. I have apps that track that for me because I was like, hold up, am I crazy? Am I like not as talented as I used to be? And no, it's not just myself. Tim has been going through it. Caitlin Johnstone, Elizabeth Lee Voss is talking about it. You know, of Jamar actually talked about it a little bit. I mean, it's almost like the momentum that we were gaining was becoming dangerous. And they're like, no, we got to stop that right now. And that's because if you kill the momentum, then it is what it is. Like, they know it's hard for us to grow past a certain point. Look at what happened to Lee Camp, man. Lee Camp used to get millions of views of video.
Wow.
And he averaged 500 followers / subscribers, not like a week, a day. Like, that was a day. And I mean, at one point he said he was like on for like 3 or 4 months, he was averaging 5,000 a week. And so you go from that to, he said, I'll be lucky if I get 500 in a month. And then I'll be lucky if I don't even lose them by that, by the next month. Yeah. So, the shadow banning is, and that's what people really have to understand too. Both the right and once again, the left, we're both getting shadow banned. There are people from both sides for some reason that are getting shadow banned. And what it seems to me is that no matter whether you're on the left or the right, they're speaking about, there's something in common about what they're doing that is causing that. I'm sure you've been on Lee Stranahan and Garland Nixon's show, right? Fault Lines. Yeah. So that's what they don't want. They don't want someone from the left and the right on a show together, finding common ground and bringing people from both sides of the political spectrum into the conversation. That's what they don't want. And that's why we're all getting shadow banned, which is why we should all open up our perspectives to even opinions that we may not necessarily agree with, because there's likely some truth to it.
Here's I'll tell you what. Here's also something. I think that until Democrats or until people on the left push for bringing our soldiers home and ending perpetual wars.
Absolutely. Well, both, not just the left. It's got to be both.
Well, both. Well, okay. Here's my point.
Go ahead.
Because I think that but here's my initial point. The left should not be like, Democrats should not be more hawkish than Republicans. They should be the antithesis of what Republicans used to be. Republicans used to be the hawkish ones, and Democrats would be more the doves.
Yeah, but now it's only the high-ranking old head neocons that are more hawkish than the Democrats. Otherwise, it's mostly Democrats that are hawkish. You're correct.
Yeah. I think that all of this kind of like, oh, you have to lose your job because you said something racist, and oh, you did this or you did that, you said something horrible, this kind of thing, I don't think it's sustainable for a movement. Like, I think the Democrats I think that they have to stand by something, because if they don't stand by like major, bold, starting with an anti-war stance, I don't think that Democrats can survive. And here's so much criminality, so much craziness. I mean, cheat Bernie, and this is the real reason. One of the big reasons I love Bernie is because he was the anti-war candidate.
That's why they painted it. They said that Jill Stein was
and the reason, and I got to tell you, for me, I know it's not for you, but one of the reasons I'm going to vote for Trump in 2020 is because I know that this is what I believe. I believe that they're going to cheat Bernie. I believe they're going to cheat. I think they're going to cheat Bernie, or they're going to cheat Tulsi, and they're going to pick their establishment Democrat. And I think the establishment Democrat, by nature of the party, will be more hawkish than Trump because of the neocons.
If they cheat Bernie or Tulsi or whoever the progressive is that comes out of the Democratic Party. And I'll probably, I'm obviously going to stay registered as an independent, but I will make it a mission to make sure people vote for Trump just to spite the Democratic Party.
Yes.
I wouldn't make it because
yes.
I am at that point because at that point I'm not about incrementalism. I'd rather blow the whole shit up if that's what we're gonna do. It's like you're that fucking
peacefully
stupid.
And politically.
Yeah, of course, peacefully, of course. But but if you're that stupid, because what people are, they like the Democrats and neoliberals pretended that they're so upset about what they said about that. They're people. I'm one of the people who are legitimately upset about her reference to the Muslim Brotherhood, like just saying, "Oh, because she's from Iran, she's Muslim." When there's a huge Christian population in Iran, and apparently they don't know about that, like a huge Christian population, and a lot of the population also is secular. In fact, they are so secular that the UN or the U.S. decided to liberate them once upon a time to make sure they didn't stay that way. It's hard to control people who don't ascribe to religious authoritarianism. So, but what's more racist, saying a person from Iran is, part of the Muslim Brotherhood, or like blowing up millions of Muslims for no reason?
Destroying Libya,
facilitating the destruction of Yemen, destroying millions in Iraq, Afghanistan, like killing Somalians to the point where
but you know what though? They didn't call them shithole countries.
But at least they didn't call them shithole countries. Hey, that's what, that's the line. Hey, okay, you can kill them, just don't insult them while you're doing it.
I can't wait for Twitter. Can I tell you, please? I can't wait for Twitter and Facebook to just become like MySpace and not exist anymore.
Oh yeah, and that's what we're trying to do. And I heard about what happened to Gab. What the hell?
What happened again?
Banned from the App Store?
What?
Is that a true story? Is that true? People have been tweeting all day saying that Gab was banned from the App Store.
I don't know. I'm on Gab. I'm on Gab
right now.
Kind of like I'm on Twitter. I just share my articles and my segments, and then sometimes I'll make a statement here and there. But
I'm about to check right now. We're gonna find out. Gab. Because people have been tweeting, I didn't check. Oh. If Gab was on the App Store, it is no longer there.
Wow.
I just checked it. Yeah, and they're coming at us in full force. I mean, I'm sure you heard about the Hillary Clinton situation where she had it was a prepped question saying, if you wanted to be CEO of anything, what would it be? She said, Facebook. It would be Facebook.
It would be Facebook. She thought it was cool.
Well, it's because her excuse was what we all thought. She was very direct. Oh, because most of the world gets their news from Facebook, even if it's fake. And, they're working to fix that, by the way. So, they're working on it, but that's what I would definitely want to be the CEO of Facebook.
And it's kind of funny too, because that's where all the Russian interference went through.
Yeah, supposedly. And then
alleged Russian interference.
Here's what's scary about this, because I'm all about, how I am. I'm about data points and patterns. Hillary's talking about in a prepped question, because when does Hillary get questions that aren't pre-prepared so she can prepare an answer? Because she's horrible at flying off the cuff. So at this Radcliffe ceremony for Harvard, which she got an award for being one of the most transformative people in the country, which is bullshit, right? But it was to bring positive attention back to her again. Then she gets questioned on what does she want to do if she was a CEO. Oh, Facebook. Simultaneously, while we found out, which I don't know if you knew, that Facebook, after they apologized, started giving our data to the Center for American Progress, who we know belongs to John Podesta. At the same time, Susan Rice is appointed to the board of directors for Netflix. At the same time that Barack Obama is given a multi-million-dollar deal with the Netflix deal.
See, the thing, like, what does he want to do? A reality show?
No, I think a reflection of his life.
Oh, okay.
But like, my point is that, mind you, all the censorship is going on at the same time. Mind you, every post that we make about Just Inform seems to get significantly less traction than we would. I mean, less than what we've already been seeing. The like it's just a pattern that we're seeing is we learned a lot from the 2016 election, but unfortunately the reality of it is they did as well. So they're coming at us, putting CIA assets in the news organizations, trying to take over our social media platforms, controlling what we do and don't react to, what we will and won't, what we do and don't see. And they're even we're putting political operatives behind our entertainment and our social media world now. That is some scary shit. Because by the time 2020 comes, if we don't have a unified strategy and unified go-to platforms like Just Inform, like Steemit, you know,
how can people? Did you? And so you guys created that? You and Tim and who else?
Tim and Suzanne Murphy. Wow. She's our third partner. She was the one who kind of helped come up with the canvas of the site and how to make it work. Tim and I came up with the functionality and how we felt like people, what we think people would love, what, you know, about social media, or what they did love and do love about it, what they hate about it at the same time, and how we wanted it, the functionality of the contributors, and the relationship and interact. We didn't want to be like excluded from interacting with people, because, you know, like Twitter kind of makes it like, oh, if I'm verified, then I'm above ye, you know.
Yeah, Twitter sucks.
Yeah, and shadow banning, and there's no algorithms that affect any of that type of stuff.
And how can you sign up? Can you tell everybody how to sign up on Just Inform?
So if you go, it's just JUSTN as an N and inform FORM.com. You can sign up right now. Matter of fact, I'll write it in the chat. Boom. Awesome. There you go. And you can. Oh, it says, hold up. Any web address. Oh, Lord. Oh, it can't post web addresses. Just Inform. And it's just justinform.com. And we already have, we're close to 300 users right now. And we only really opened it up for business like the end of last week.
That's great, man.
Yeah, and we're excited. And we haven't really been pushing. This is our first major promo. But because we didn't want people to flood it.
Yeah, because you gotta
test it, you gotta trickle in people. But and so if anybody joins tonight, you can reach out to us if you have any suggestions and things like that, and we're good. And if anybody, I see AC says that he's been pending for too much. You might want to reapply, because if you applied during the beta phase, we only allowed so many people to be included in that, and then it reset itself so that people are now reapplying. You have to get the email verification. So make sure that if you apply before that, you're reapplying, because we're on a different server that's like live now. So and if you're still having trouble, of course, reach out to me. I have no problem with reconciling.
Well, I want you and Tim to remember me when you guys become billionaires.
Oh no! What? Stop it! Billionaires, maybe. I can never be a billionaire, man. I would end up giving most of my money away. Not gonna lie. I'm all about helping people, bringing people. I want to hold unity conferences. Like, that's my goal. Like, before I die, I want to make it a tradition to hold unity conferences, like with the right and the left, with Black people, white people, people of all races, ethnicities, and nationalities, so that we can talk about these issues that are very contentious, but then have educational sessions, experiential sessions, have people interacting with people. And then you don't even have to 100% agree when you left, but at least all of us will be educated and have a little bit more to work with while we're trying to bridge these gaps. That's the reason we created Just Inform, because like I said, it's not an echo chamber, and it will never be one, because we've removed any possibility of that from happening. Because you see everybody's opinions, you see all the contributors, and I'm working on a segment right now for the website, because we have verified contributors from both the right or both the left and the right, and I'm going to have a featured contributor every week, right? So 1 week it'll be somebody who's progressive, the next week it'll be somebody who's conservative, and because we want people to see other people's perspectives. And I think it's something that's seriously lacking, and we hope that Just Inform can reconcile that.
Well, cool, man. You know, I could talk to you forever.
Oh, of
But
course, man. Of course. We'll be back on soon, man. We'll be back on soon. And don't forget, I gotta talk to you soon too, man. Because speaking of which, we need to work on getting you a verified contributor page in the next round.
I would be honored, man. Thank you.
Of course.
I can't wait. I'd be honored.
But by the way, as an aside, for anyone who has critiqued HA, in my opinion, if you want to critique him because you may not like the fact that he's a Trump supporter, cool. But you can't critique his reasons. And the truth of the matter is, the neoliberal left and a lot of the left has betrayed their base. And I would even venture to say that HA isn't, I wouldn't say that he isn't left or he isn't on the side of progressive policies, but he actually wants to see something get done. And the only way that we can have that happen, in my opinion, this is something I think a lot of people agree with, is we start seeing some fucking accountability. Like, we're not getting any right now. And we're starting to see elements of it, but at the end of the day, I agree with HA to the degree of this whole system needs to be blown up, and we need to start politically with a fresh start. And whether or not you love Trump or you hate Trump, at the end of the day, he's not Hillary, okay? And if you're in that camp, well, he might have, we don't know. Oh, we know, okay? Take Syria, for example, just really quick. Remember what happened whenever Trump tried to pull the CIA out? And then for some reason, he had to argue with his administration about it, which says a lot about how our government is, by the way. If you got to argue with your administration about ending a war that you're the sole person that can say we're done with that conflict, and they're arguing with you about it. And then what did Hillary say? You know what? We don't need an investigation. We should just go to war with them right now. So if they tried to provoke Trump to going to war, imagine they wouldn't even have had to provoke Hillary. Remember what they said in those emails about North Korea?
She would preempt it.
She would preempt it, exactly. Remember what they said about the North Korea emails with Hillary? She was never going to end that war.
No, she wanted to rein them with missile defense.
Exactly. And I believe that there are powers that be. No, matter of fact, I can say this for an absolute fact. This is from a former CIA asset who I am, by my connections, I am close with as far as the information. I mean, this is somebody who's still close with the CIA. He said, and I quote, "I'm surprised that Donald Trump is not dead because they do not like him. None of the establishment does."
Who said this?
This is a former CIA agent. Wow, and who is still close with the intelligence community, like holds regular meetings with the intelligence community. And just like what we have been hearing, there are people in the intelligence community that are against him. But there are people in the intelligence community who may not necessarily be for Trump, but they are for justice. And they do believe in letting politics and democracy operate the functional level, which requires us to not undermine the president off of arbitrary bullshit for personal political agendas, which is what we've been seeing. And this is from somebody who doesn't like Trump. He doesn't even like Trump, but he's like, what we're seeing from the intelligence community, from the leaders that we've seen, it was criminal. What we were seeing from the Clappers of the world and the Andrew McCabe's and the James Comey's. It was a sideshow. But Trump isn't on the side of the establishment. I will say Trump's policies, to some degree, he caters and panders to those who can help him. That's not really news to anybody. That does not necessarily make him establishment. It just makes him a rich guy. That's kind of what they do. I mean, it makes him a PR guy. That's what he does. But like I said, HA has always said that he wants universal health care still. HA has always said that he wants equity, for all peoples, marginalized and otherwise. HA has always advocated for justice for Seth Rich. He's always advocated for Julian Assange. He's always advocated for all the right issues. But if your thing is, HA is a fake because he's voting for Trump, then you need to examine yourself. Because
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
I mean, that's how I feel about it. I mean,
Thank
like
you.
I said, I'm not voting for Trump. Well,
Yeah.
that's contingent on what we just talked about. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm never going to cut my dialogue because of because of who a person is voting for. I will listen to their logic, and even then, if I don't necessarily agree with their logic, I will still respect. That is what this country is about. It's about respecting difference of opinions. And if you feel like your way is more would be more successful, and especially if somebody's educated on the issues as you are, then that's your prerogative.
Thank you, man.
And if
I mean, yeah, I tell you, I think that everybody has to just. I don't consider it like there are people who are like, oh, you're a traitor. I'm like, what? How can I be a traitor when Bernie was actually cheated? And then
because
people still voted for
all they hear is Trump. That's all they heard, and they stopped
yeah.
listening.
And then, but you know what I think is going to happen? I think that Democrats are going to cheat Tulsi, cheat Bernie, and just install whoever they want.
Oh, yeah. And if they do that, they will face the consequences. I think that you won't be the only person talking about Trump at that point.
Oh, nice.
And I truly believe that. Now, I will say this with the caveat. That's if he runs, because from the sources that I'm hearing right now, remember that video I did a while ago where everybody thought I was insane because I was like, yeah, Trump is actually winning in the polls right now. And they were like, you're a Trumper. Yeah, I'm like, yo, I'm trying to warn y'all. And this is the response I get. I said, okay, wait for it. And then the CNN article came out that substantiated it. And these are the same sources that are feeding me this information saying that Trump may not run again in 2020, but we will.
I mean, in my humble view, I think he will, and I think he'll just smoke any Democrat.
Yeah, except for that's once again establishment. Because if he runs against Tulsi, I don't think he stands a chance against Tulsi.
Well, see, that's I love Tulsi together, but I'll tell you what. Tulsi's even a bigger threat than Bernie because, God bless Bernie. Bernie doesn't fight back, but Tulsi will fucking
Tulsi will fight. Tulsi will fly to Syria on your ass and start getting pictures and videos saying, yo, they said that you were saying this. Go ahead and they were, Tulsi is real because when she went to Syria, the left establishment, the right, they all freaked the fuck out. They didn't know what to do. They were like, yo, whoa. She's not supposed to go see what's actually happening over there. Bring her back now. Like, that's what we want, though. That I don't understand.
We should have people in Congress do that. We should have
that. Should exactly, and that's why I say Tulsi is a very dangerous candidate as far as if you want to see somebody who's going to threaten Trump. Because I agree with you. Like, no Democrat can beat no like actual blue dog Democrat.
That's what I'm saying. I think that what they did, like when the Daily Beast writes a hit piece on you, that's like but not only the Daily Beast.
That's like a fucking coronation.
Yeah. Well, it is, but it's also like the establishment doesn't like you, but also like she had 3 or 4 hit pieces from major publications, not just the Daily Beast. Like I think the Washington Post tried to throw under the bus. The Washington Post went after her. I think maybe even the New York Times.
Yeah, went after her for her past. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the MSNBC people tried to hurt her as well. Mm-hmm. I just don't see them because
as soon as she went to Syria, all of a sudden we knew everything about her past. And I'm like, but progressives for the most part, like myself, I knew she had a neoliberal past. Like she was the second in command of the DNC committee. Like she left that position.
What I'm trying to say though is that I do believe that she is a threat. I don't believe that they'll ever allow her, give her a fair chance. And I don't know, man. It'd think be
an uphill battle.
Huh?
It would be an uphill battle for her.
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, what's going to happen is, it'll be somebody like Joe Biden or Kamala Harris.
Oh yeah, and if they do that, they just seal their fate.
Well, that's what I'm.
But that's why. And you heard it here first. Tulsi has me on her team.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's amazing, Niko.
To try and overcome those boundaries that the Democratic Party would try to no doubt set out in front of her. But she's smarter than what people think. She once again, she isn't Bernie. At the end of the day, as much respect as I have for Bernie, it's not a hard choice for me. I really like Bernie, but it's not a hard choice. When they said who would you support? Oh, Tulsi, because
if I was still on that side, like progressive, I would Tulsi in a heartbeat over Bernie.
Because when it comes down to it, both of them had a chance to have their dreams ruined by not aligning with the establishment. Both of them had choices to make. It was your potential future career, your potential to run as president, your potential to even win your election because they'll cut your funding, or fall in line with the establishment. And despite all of that being thrown at her, she showed integrity. And that was emblematic of everything that anybody, right or left, wants to see in the president. You can't beat that.
Well, listen, man, it has been an absolute pleasure as always.
Thank you very much for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Check out Justin Forum, people. JUSTNFORM. I'm gonna write it here again. Justin Forum.
I would be honored to, have my profile there, and hey, best of luck with it. And I'm glad it's growing, so fast, and it's amazing, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much for having me on. And as usual, keep your head held high, keep telling the truth, and keep reporting on this craziness going on with the Department of Justice and the FBI and all that good stuff. Because Lord Jesus, we need somebody who can keep up with it, man. It's hard. It's hard to keep up with it. It really is. So a lot of that news I always get initially from you, and I think a lot of the internet gets it from you. So,
well, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, Niko, thank you so much, and I will speak to you very soon.
Fantastic, man. I'll talk to you soon too.
Thanks, Niko. Thank you, everybody, for watching.